Twice as far as you think, half the distance you fear. Too thin to hold you, and well over your head. So much cleverer by far, yet witless beyond measure. Will you hear my story now?
Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team's Malazan series. Welcome to episode 2 of the Reaper's Gale series. I am Huron Fan, and I am joined by Befuddled Panda.
Hi.
You're supposed to say, like, hello or something.
Hello.
Janeth as a boy.
Hi.
And another person.
Yes, salutations.
What is this episode?
It's a good start, that's what it is. Nice, strong.
Panda is now the only newbie. How are y'all doing? And is there anything y'all want to shout out?
Mr. Anderson asks when I'm going to be done with this series so that he can have his fiance back.
That's okay.
Hey, we had you first.
Technically, yes.
Yeah, we get dibs.
I just want to say here that Jane Eyre is a fantasy book. Don't at
Oh
me.
my goodness.
It is. It's got like magic voices and it's got ghosts.
Oh dear.
Nothing else? Okay, so the most important part we got is that Jane Eyre is definitely fantasy.
Oh dear.
Today we'll be covering chapters 7 through 12, aka Book 2. Spoiler warning, everything up through these chapters is fair game for discussion. We will be doing our usual chapter by chapter format.
Chapter 7. The Lethari Eater expeditionary fleets return to Letharis, bearing our favorite Jag and Toblakai with them. Feather, which makes what's surely to be a long-lasting alliance with Han and Mosag. Rulad receives some bad news, and Bug sets Tehol up with a girl.
Girls. Smell good.
Okay. Speaking of girls, the manhunt joke. I got a laugh out of that one. And how slow Ublala was in getting it.
He's so precious.
What was the line? Look, she's got breasts and stuff.
Yes.
They'd never find her if it was a man.
And stuff. It covers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That was my favorite scene.
We get a hint as to who Ikariam's mother is. Someone describes her as an overgrown hag. Wait, Ash, you have an idea? Because I don't know. I was guessing maybe Kilwandaros.
Yeah, that's what I suspect.
Whose mother?
Ikariam. Okay, I guess it's not that interesting. I'm interested to see who her mother is.
Maybe it's Olar Ethel.
She's not very big, though.
No, but she is, like, psychologically overgrown.
Yeah, we're just counting her ego or something. It was nice seeing Karsa again, right?
Yeah. Our boys step off the boat and immediately a temple collapses somewhere in the city.
Specifically, Ikariam in that one. And
Yes.
they talk about the temple over and over again. These whose temple was it?
The Rats Guild, right? Oh, I mean, that's where they were.
There's a bunch of ghosts of rats there.
Yeah, it's called Scale House. I don't know what that means.
And they planned for it.
Right. Seems purposeful. And it's supposed to be, well, later on, Bug says it's like a door.
I have a feeling I've just forgotten something. Sounds important.
Yeah, probably.
Can't tell if that's real or not.
The arrival of Ikariam seemed to send Bug into a weird, listless state. I wonder
And
if that
the
has anything to do
errand.
with the falling of the temple. Yeah, and the errand. Everybody's just like, "Oh my god, Ikariam's here!" But specifically, like, what was it? I think he was with Rautos Hivanar, and Bug just kind of goes like, "Oh, this was the Ursul," and goes into like this really long life story of the people who died here.
And then Rautos is like, "Oh, that's so funny. You're just making up stories."
I don't think that Gothos treats Kilmandros like he had a kid with in the prologue. So that's my argument against it being her as Ikariam's.
Gothos doesn't subscribe to traditional ideals of what fatherhood or relationships should be, right?
Well, he didn't in a non-traditional way either. He just didn't act. He acted like he was just outsmarting two random elder gods, not one he used to.
I mean, you don't know how much tail he got back in the day. There's probably a ton of Gothos' kids running around.
Yeah, maybe Ikariam was made after.
After
Oh yeah, maybe that too.
Yeah, that's where they met, and he's like, "Wow, look at those hairy knuckles." And
Oh, she sure can punch a dragon.
getting hot and bothered thinking about it.
Okay. Yep.
Tanal Yathvana is a weird guy.
Yes, that is an understatement.
Because before he goes and he takes Janath away and hides her away, he's speaking about the importance of compassion and how he would confess the depth of his feelings to Janath and save her from everything that's happening to her. Yeah, I don't get him.
He's like got a reverse Stockholm syndrome going on. I know there's a name for it, but yeah, his very twisted affection for her is off-putting.
Yeah, I think that's a good word for it.
It's called Lima syndrome.
Ligma?
Lima.
I believe it.
If it's a bean, it's lima beans. Do we say Lima syndrome?
No, it's it refers to a city in Peru. Lima.
Yeah, it's
It's
probably
named after cities.
Because there was a hostage crisis there. So that's what it's named after. Well, in my notes, I call Tanal Yathvanar a creepy psycho-controlling dickhead.
That's apt.
Yeah, it's succinct.
It's pretty much the entirety of his being right there.
Yes, I would like
If-
to punch him.
Hannibal was in the Malazan world, he would eat Tanal Yathvanar, and he would be very upset with him for being crass and like shallow.
Yeah,
Like
I think
he's
Hannibal
the type
would eat
of
a lot of the people here.
yeah, but
You
he's
know,
the type of like predator that would like offend Hannibal, and Hannibal would have to kill and then
Yeah,
like because
absolutely.
because he's not like refined enough, you know. I don't know.
I could totally see Tanal Yathvanar sticking a knife into one of Hannibal's therapy chairs.
Nerds.
Well, the first
That's
thing
a
I
good
thought
show.
was Tanal Yathvanar reminds me of Hannibal, the way Hannibal attaches to his victims, and then I was like, but he's so crass, and that made me think Hannibal would be really upset with this guy.
Hannibal also has a god complex, and Tanal Yathvanar is. I don't think he has that. I think he has. Yeah. We get more Feather Witch scheming. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
I hate her.
we love being around Feather Witch.
I think that her little mini arc in here is just. It's so appropriate for Feather Witch. She really ends up where she deserves.
She's the worst.
She's.
And she like makes the errant worse. Like
Yep.
before this point, I wasn't like convinced that I didn't like the errant, and this is the beginning. This is the beginning of me going, okay, this guy really sucks, and like it only even in these chapters, it only goes downhill like the moment he's on the page.
I have such a hard time not referring to the errant as Erastus.
Yeah,
It's such a better name.
and they start calling him that in this section, right? Like a lot,
Do they? I don't remember.
or at least in the parts of this book we've read. Like I don't think he gets referred to that at all in Midnight Times, right?
No, he doesn't. And it's generally like elder beings that call him Erastus.
I would say, I have to say that the errant is a disappointing god, and I guess that is the point.
Yeah. I thought there would be something much cooler under the hood.
Yes.
Under the hood.
Well done.
I
Well done,
didn't do that on
Erickson.
purpose.
Do you think so Bug saves Janath from her doom, so to speak. Do you think that he I'm going to rephrase this. I think that he only did it because he was so like kind of off kilter because Ikariam showed up. Because ever since Ikariam showed up, he had that weird thing, and then he kind of just traveling around the city and acting weird, and he finds himself finding Janath, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to take you out of here.
I think it's really interesting, given the amount of knowledge we know that he has. He like kind of has some like almost omnipresence throughout the city of Letheris. Who he chooses to save and who he chooses not to save, or he doesn't choose to save, right? Like he could have probably saved Nizal, right? But he doesn't. He doesn't want to provoke confrontations, it seems.
Yeah, I highlighted his thoughts. Of course, that would lead to unwarranted attention, which would no doubt result in yet greater slaughter, and one that made no distinction between those who deserved death and those who did not. This was the curse of power, after all, and he well knew Carlos Invicta would soon discover. So I think, yeah, this is the natural state of being of really powerful people who actually care.
And even those who don't, right? Like, there are a lot of gods, Malazan, and almost none of them like to interfere directly. I get the sense that the ones who do get taken down fairly quickly.
Well, what did Ghost smell like?
This is not that episode.
Yeah, no, it's Ublala, he smells ghosts. He says something about ghosts, and I think Tehol asked him, hey, Ghost, you could see ghosts following him around? See them? Of course not, but I smelled them. So apparently, you can't see ghosts, but they have a distinct odor.
It's a very Toblakai thing to do, I think.
Maybe it's just musty smell.
Maybe.
It's like mothballs.
I just thought it was very funny that Ublala's like, what? See them? Stupid.
Smell them.
Don't you know anything about ghosts?
Shall we move on to chapter 8?
Before we do that, there was that one piece where Bug went to see that dude that we talked about last time
Ratos
about the
Hivenar?
artifact.
Yeah, Hivenar.
Yeah. And that guy, he said that Bug tells him that a central piece is missing, or he says that there's a central piece for the artifact that's missing. You will not find it, for it is not physical. The framework that will hold it together is one of energy, not matter. And it has yet to arrive. And I think that was... I can't remember if that was before Icarium got there. I think it was before Icarium. Anyway, Icarium has something to do with these artifact things.
Yes, maybe.
Interesting theory.
You're. I'm not going to say anything else.
Is this the chapter where Bug leaves there and just disappears to patriotists?
Yes.
He loses his temper a bit.
2 guards. Yeah.
It's interesting that the inclusion of magic kind of adds this extra element. I mean, of course we have bombs, but this extra element of shouldn't these guys be more afraid? Because there's elder gods and mages and warlocks and all these things that could just be on the street minding their own business when you're harassing them.
But that's such an uncommon thing, right? No one knows about the errant being in the city, right? And
is it really uncommon though? I mean, they had an elder god devastate a bunch of Lethery in battles, that dead elder god that they used before it got trapped in the ice. I mean,
oh sure, but that was an extraordinary occurrence, right?
But it's
it seems
an extraordinary occurrence that many Lethery soldiers lived through and probably went back to Lether and talked about at very recent memory. You know what I mean? It may be extraordinary, but it's extraordinary in the way that a mass shootings in America are extraordinary. We're still aware of them and they scare us. They happen on a regular basis, and it seems in Malazan and especially in Lether this kind of stuff happens on a regular basis enough that it would register to people hey, maybe I should be more careful about who I'm bullying. I don't know.
Well, specifically with regards to gods, I think that had been the first time in however many decades or centuries or millennia that they'd actually had to deal with a god, right? Because the errand has been inactive for thousands of years. Bug certainly hasn't been showing his face, and there's been some
right, but there were
jagged...
20 gods at the same time, and there was like the Toblakai gods, and like there's like Menendor, and like just a lot. There's a lot been going on in this place.
But no one knows about those, right? Like the Toblakai gods were like, they got out of the ground and they were quickly beaten into submission and killed.
Anybody could be a warlock. Anybody could be a mage. Like anybody that you pick out on the street could have the power to drive the air out of your lungs and leave it that way.
But I think it's more of like they're just more focused on living their life, and it's easy to kind of have blinders on and just care about the things that are more immediate to yourself.
And I feel like totally. And if you want to make like the Nazi Germany comparison, I'm sure that they felt immortal until the people they picked on was a suicide bomber or something, blew up a whole squad of guys, So yeah, I guess it is pretty realistic in that.
And also
because until somebody decides to blow you up, you get to bully everybody.
Like there are a lot of like easier to grok parallels, right? Like you're like just meeting someone on the street, like what's the odds that they're gonna be like a martial arts master, I don't see that coming into consideration for a lot of thugs when they're harassing people, right? It's like, is this guy gonna break out some taekwondo and shatter my spine?
Listen, my Canadian friend, I live in America, and anybody you start any kind of problem with on the street anywhere might have a gun. So sure. These are things people do have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 8.
Cotillion gives a quest to Best Boy Troll. I guess Honorak and Quick Ben tag along as well. Shirk makes berth at some random island. The heroic quest, TM, has a productive conversation with the leaders of Blue Rose. Talk agrees to train the all in Malazan tactics.
Can I ask if anybody loved this chapter as much as I did?
What did you love about it?
I don't know. So, like, I finished the chapter and I was like, oh my god, this is like the best chapter of Malazan ever. And I went back to the front and I highlighted and noted chapter 8. This chapter is incredible. And then today, as I'm putting my notes together, I'm like, was it that good? Like, I remember really, really enjoying it once I finished it. But once I'm going back over my notes, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's good.
You were probably just happy that Troll came back.
I don't think that was it. Cause, I really liked Udinos's conversation with Fear. I loved the stuff between Red Mask and Talk and the old man. I forgot his name. Or maybe that was a later chapter, but whatever. And I really liked the stuff with Troll and Onrock and Cotillion and Shadow Throne.
So, any characters nerding out about how efficient the Malazan military is? That's like my favorite stuff in Malazan. Like every time, all throughout the books. I mean, I think I like it even more than myself nerding out watching the Malazan military be efficient. Like watching like two characters be like, oh, I'm from this empire and we do things this way, and like sort of nerding out about it. I'm just like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. I love it. So
your barbarian tactics are horrible.
And that's why I loved this chapter, because of the Talk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We also got the line from Talk, the same line that we saw in his poem called "The Bridge Burners" in Deadhouse Gates. Which
no way. What was
really
the
cool.
line?
What can you see on the horizon's bruised smear that cannot be blotted out by a raised hand? I love that stuff.
Wasn't it like, do I call you Janice now instead of yes?
Sure.
That's how I introduced him.
You like in Memories of Ice, you were like asking, when would have Talk written these things? And I guess
it's still not clear. It's still, in my opinion, not clear. Like, is he like writing a book when he goes to bed after he talks to Red Mask about tactics all day? Like, does he like write in his little book of poetry and like somebody finds it later, he turns it into a publisher at the next city they stop in? I'm still unclear as to when he when this would have been available for publication.
It was during the torture. The all needed a financial boost, so they were like, okay, we're going to kill you unless you write a book for us. And he did. and they sold it off screen, and it wasn't mentioned.
Maybe it was written on the skin of the Grey Swords.
Ooh.
Gross.
Grim. So grim. Oh, I really like the part where, he was saying, Red Mask was asking, well, how do the Malazans fight? And Talk's like, well, this is going to take a while. And that to me was like, oh, is this when he writes down a bunch of stuff and then like it was later passed down? That's what I thought.
I think this also has one of my favorite parts of the series when Talk is explaining the Malazan swears to Red Mask.
Oh, yes, I love that.
It's like, Hood's breath. Who is Hood? It's our god of death, so he has no breath. Exactly. And
Tog's teats.
Beru?
Tog's teats.
Tog's
Tog's teeth,
So
Beru's mercy,
Bear has no
Maui
mercy.
Fend.
But
Poor Fend's off nothing.
it's not. It's very selective. It's Togs. It's Talks. The ones he uses are like that. Like Hood's hairy balls or whatever. Like, it's been confirmed. Hood does have balls. Like, so.
But are they hairy?
Well, I don't know. You have
That
to ask
hasn't
Hood.
been confirmed.
I don't. I hope it is not confirmed. I'm waiting for that chapter in Fall of Light, though.
Does Hood really have balls though?
Most likely.
Silchus Ruin said he does, right?
I'm like 99% certain.
So I think it
Prime
depends.
podcast content right here.
Depends partially on which manifestation of Hood you're talking about, right? Because maybe his worshippers worship a god that doesn't have balls, and so like those avatars of him are ballless, just straight eunuch,
Oh
and
my
he's
God.
like uncomfortable with it. But
Dude, yeah,
this is the
what
form he
if-
has to take.
What if, like, how would it be possible, because of the way that worshippers impact gods, if enough worshippers were like, oh no, he's a eunuch, would it eventually physically manifest, or would the god have to be like, no, stop that? What?
I think this is a question that we should save for Steve.
I think it's absolutely a question for Steve. Yes.
Yes.
Please take note.
One that he's actually willing to answer as far as lore goes.
I think he would laugh and refuse to answer and call us weird for thinking of it.
I don't think he would call us weird.
I think this is one of those where it's just like, you know what? It's just magic. Magic is just like wavy, hand wavy.
His balls exist in a superposition of existing and not existing.
Schrodinger's cat, Hood's balls.
Yeah.
Petition to move on past balls.
Sorry.
Seconded. Yeah.
Udanas tells a story.
It's a good story, isn't it?
It's a great story.
I like that story. Yeah, it's not just, the bad guys were the good guys all along. No, it's they were bad, but they're specializing in the wrong things, and it's really complicated. And the heroes really aren't solving anything by going down to the cave.
It's like realistic, and there's like so much world building, and the listeners are just like, is there a plot to this? And then there's a twist ending.
I feel like Udnas is channeling Richard K. Morgan in that scene.
The guy who wrote Altered Carbon?
Yeah, but he wrote a fantasy trilogy that's like basically Udnas could have. It's very much like just like stirring the pot as far as like the hero's journey and like.
So it has questions of like why there's a bunch of enemies sitting in a room with no food.
Not not as much. So that's more harkening back to Cam and Erickson's D&D sessions where you have a 10 by 10 room with like 60 kobolds coming out of it, and you fight your way in, and then it's just this little room. But no, it's just like a very like just brutal, like scathing kind of. I don't know if it's nihilistic or just what, but it's cynical maybe is a better word. Look at like, why do we like the kind of fantasy we like? Why do we like the kind of stories that we like? Why are we okay with violent sociopathic violence from our heroes and things like that. And I feel like Udnas basically could have hit like it's the same kind of thing. I mean, obviously, he's not improvising it like Udnas is in this scene, right? But if Udnas really sat down and wrote a fantasy trilogy, it would probably be A Land Fit for Heroes. I mean, the title sounds like Udnas came up with the title based on this little story about, right? A Land Fit for Heroes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Richard K. Morgan's like way better than Joe Abercrombie, so if you like grimdark, you should read Richard K. Morgan's A Land Fit for Heroes. And yeah, it's amazing, and unfortunately it came out like before everybody was okay with that kind of filth being in fantasy, so like even though everybody loved all his filthy sci-fi that he wrote, it was like universally blasted by critics, and just like he's never written any fantasy since, and it's like some of the best stuff I've read. It's so good.
I'm gonna check it out.
Don't read it if you have any problem with very explicit gay stuff, because the main character is a gay swordsman, and it's in a homophobic world, and he throws it in everyone's face, like very raunchily and it's very explicit. Maybe Kip will read it. Oh, that's who recommended it to me.
Okay, there you
go. It's Kip's favorite grimdark series. Wow. And
makes sense.
It's probably mine too, but I wasn't sold on it in the first book, but I've read the whole trilogy. It's just beautiful.
Nice.
I was asking if anybody bought Fear's explanation of the Eater stories about
the Eater founding myth. Yeah.
And how
I believe that's how the women of the tribe see it, sort of.
I think that's how Fear sees it.
I think that's definitely how he would like to see it, yeah. Got some old revisionist mythos stuff going on there.
You're just like, oh, that's convenient, isn't it? Like, no, it's not convenient. It shows how guilty we are. Well, yeah, sure.
Ben, what are we to do? We couldn't have done anything to stop Scabandery. Scabby.
Mm-hmm. Put all of our sins on one person.
We were as much prisoners of him as the Andy were victims.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of rationalization.
Mm-hmm. That's Fear for you.
This is one of my favorite chapters in the Book of the Fallen, but also the dumbest thing that's in the Book of the Fallen is in this chapter.
Is it the rooster?
The dumbest thing, really?
Yeah. No, like the dumbest thing that's meant to be taken seriously. Udnas saying that the central argument for and against slavery is that he's too enlightened and would be like too dangerous if he wasn't a slave, was like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. Come on, man.
I'm going to disagree with you. Sure, maybe slaves aren't as enlightened as he thinks they are, but both excuses for slavery have been used, in that we have to keep them down, or we have to keep them in their place, because otherwise they'll be listless, and they'll have no one telling them what to do, and they'll just be lazy, stupid people. And on the other hand, they say we have to keep them down because otherwise they're going to uprise against us, and they'll take over, and we'll be the people underneath.
I don't think that the anxieties of the ruling class constitute the central argument for and against slavery. I think 100% rate of exploitation and human beings owning other human beings are the central arguments for and against slavery. And I think that that's just like demonstrably true, historic, and
I need to read over this
economically.
Let's see if I can find it even.
I didn't highlight it, so I'm just going off memory. You didn't like the rooster dying of grief, Panda?
Oh, no. I just thought it was really stupid. I mean, it was funny, but it was really stupid. But it was well played.
I was just kind of confused of what Shadow Throne actually meant. So they're in Shadow, and there's no sun, and there's a rooster there, and it died, and they're like, maybe it died of grief because it can't see the sun again. I'm like, okay, that's sad, and whatever. And then Shadow Throne comes, and they ask him a question, and he doesn't answer it. Instead, he answers, yes, he's right, the rooster died of grief. But they seem to accept that answer. And I'm wondering what that actually means.
I took it as they just accepted that they weren't going to get any clearer, information about where they're going and why they need to go there.
I thought it might be a hidden metaphor that I just didn't pick up.
Really? Listeners can tell us if it's a hidden metaphor.
If it is, it's probably like some Cam Steve inside joke. I mean, okay. I don't know. I thought it was just Shadow Throne being crazy, on the surface at least.
I found the passage, the dumbest thing that Steve has said, according to Janeth.
Hey, that's not what I said. I said it's the...
In the Book of the Fallen, yes.
Udanas is the one that's dumb here. Steve does not necessarily believe every single thing he puts into his character's mouth, just to be clear.
Sure. But it was Steve that wrote this.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
But, he writes a lot of things he doesn't agree with into his characters. So you can't pin this on Steve completely.
So Steve is Carlos and Vic dead?
I think so.
Sure.
You just stated the central argument, both for and against the institution of slavery. I was wasted, was I, or of necessity kept under firm heel? Too many people like me on the loose, and no ruler, tyrant, or otherwise could sit assured on a throne. We would stir things up again and again. We would challenge, we would protest, we would defy. By being enlightened, we would cause utter mayhem. So, fear, kick another basket of fish over here, it's better for everyone. I don't think that's an offensive thing, right? I think that's fine.
I didn't say it was offensive, but and it's not even that it's not true. If you just decouple it from the central argument, 100% rate of exploitation and human beings owning other human beings, those are the central arguments. Like, that's the economic engine there, and that's the strongest morally repulsive thing in the institution, in that engine, is like, I don't know. If he didn't say the central argument, I would have no problem with it. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like what he says is like without any merit whatsoever, but it's just he overstates it. Like, it's hyperbolic.
Okay. Well, then I would say to that your statement was also hyperbolic then.
Sure. Yeah, it was. I'm on a podcast, right?
We're allowed to be hyperbolic. Steve's not.
Steve can't do it. He's writing a fantasy series.
Chapter 9?
Chapter 9?
Chapter 9!
Twilight decides to GTFO of Letheris before Legendarium does his best impression of a malicious Roomba/meat grinder hybrid. The rest of the city debates what exactly is going to happen when Rulad faces off against the boys. Boar Boy plays squatter in the Aaron's Temple. Kurukan, I don't know, goes back into the story. Nizal is slain as the Eater and Patriotists start to heat up their Cold War as economic disaster looms. So Panda, I would just ask you to remember where Fenner is in this story and just kind of like put that information on a shelf and label that shelf.
Okay.
Fenner is with Erastus in his special hold.
Yes. He's hiding.
And this is it's the first time we've seen him in like 5 books.
Yes.
Oh yeah, this guy exists. Mm-hmm. I love the descriptions of Fenner every time he's on, though. They're really cool.
He's really big, and he's trying not to be bigger.
I do think it's kind of ironic that the Aaron is telling Fenner like why he's able to roam around the earth and not be like as vulnerable, but it's because he's given up his power, and then later on he reverses that. And it's like, oh crap, this is why I didn't do it. This is why I gave up my power.
Why was I so stupid? Why indeed?
Did anyone else feel the need to eat chicken soup after this chapter?
You mean chicken tea?
Sure. Yeah.
With
feathers?
I prefer mine without.
I prefer mine without as well.
I like my feathers well soaked, so if it's like a rigid feather, it's going to stick in my throat as it goes down, but if it's nice and slimy, then I can swallow it, and it provides some fiber to my diet.
I don't know if they were actually swallowing it. I think maybe it's just like tea leaves, you just like steep it for longer for extra flavor.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you could mix it with the slime that who was it, Ratus Hivanar had on in his lake when dead bodies would come up and he'd find himself all sticky.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But speaking of food, the courtyard restaurant scene with Taxilian and is it Samardev? Yeah.
I love her.
I really like that scene. I did have a thought though, like, wouldn't it be so cool if there were like a Malazan theme restaurant or pub. Like if you think Tay-Hole and Bug opened a pub, like what would be on the menu? And it would be
Oh
like
god.
these ridiculously gross named food, but the food actually tastes really good. Somebody should get on that.
Somebody should get
I
on
would
that.
go there.
I would go to that. I would go to Smiley's Tavern. That's it.
Theme
yeah.
park.
Yeah,
Malazan.
Malazan
Yeah, you
theme
can go into
park.
Which one's Smiley's again?
It's the one
Kellen
near the
Vet's.
Dead House, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it
Smiley's
the
is
one
Kellen Vet's old one. Smiley's bar.
with the demon,
Yeah.
demon bartender? Okay.
It's hidden.
There's also Cruel's Bar.
There's Cruel's Bar, and then there's also the one that Temper hangs out in.
Isn't that
Phoenix Inn?
Smiley's?
No, I
No,
don't
no.
think so. It's
Yeah, there's the
other
Phoenix
one.
Inn too in Dirgestown. I don't know the name of the one Temper hangs out in.
I can't remember it, but it's like the one everyone goes to. I can't remember, and it's been a site of the books like multiple times.
It's definitely not Smiley's then, because no one goes to Smiley's.
Right? No, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Just saying.
We
the
had
sport of your-
like 5 scenes of it in the Bone Hunters, which was just the most previous book that we read in the series. And I
It's been
Yeah, I
so
remember
many
the name.
months.
It's a long book too.
I don't
And that
even
was-
remember
but that
the
was
name
at
of
the
the
end.
character that was sitting in the bar. It's
Ba-
Balkanar?
Drek guy, drunk
yeah.
Drek guy,
Drunk Drek Moneybags.
Baskinar, something. I can't remember his name.
So, the priest and his religion were fun.
Wait, before we get there,
Oh, the
I wanna
monk?
go back to
Uh,
yeah.
Oh god.
Before we get there, Taxilian like literally tells Samar Dev like all this information about Scale House and how it basically fell down on purpose. And then I really like that scene because it really helped build tension and there's that mystery. And for me as a reader, that was really, really engaging and interesting. And now all I want to know is like now, you know, you have the whole conspiracy theory thing like going on, trying to figure out like what is this building? Why did it fall? Yes, swimming
So
swimming in
related to
conspiracy theories.
Icarium, we know that.
Yes.
And an infected bug and Erastus.
What's the relation between Icarium and dead rats? Just let your mind think on that, you know. It's been set up for the past 7 books, Panda. You just have to think hard enough.
They mentioned Grillin too.
They did.
I haven't seen Grillin.
So
Because he did.
I really like how when he first started telling her, she was like, "Yeah, this is boring nerd stuff. Why are you even telling me this?"
Yes. But it was not boring to me.
No, and eventually she got like she caught on that it wasn't just boring nerd stuff, or like it was, but like it related to like more important things than his opener.
Imagine how much more popular being a nerd would be if it actually did directly relate to like magical powers in the real world and ancient artifacts and all that kind of good stuff. I think everybody would be a nerd, right? It'd be so cool.
Isn't that kind of part of like what you do for a living or something?
Huh? I don't deal with ancient artifacts, no.
No, I meant like the magic powers thing. It's just technology instead.
Oh yes, I make rocks think. Yeah, I guess that's kind of cool. Once you get started talking about like stacks and tracing bugs and all that good stuff, it's less enamoring.
Very much so. It gets very boring. But I have a question. Where does Taxilian get all his information from? Like, why is he so sure? Isn't he just an interpreter?
You're asking the good questions.
Like, who is this guy?
I think
No,
a lot of
he's-
it is just because they think he's stupider than he actually is, and like a lot of people are talking around him, and I think he translates. Right? That's his
He's
goal.
an
He's a translator.
interpreter.
Yeah.
But he's only an interpreter because they were like killing people, and he like became an interpreter to make himself useful. He's not like originally an interpreter. He had like
Right.
some other function in society, and he got like yoked up by the Teist and the.
I don't know. I better get a backstory.
It's in Bone Hunters. He talked about what he was doing before they caught him.
I
forget what it
forgot.
is. Yeah,
I'll
me
go
too.
back.
I read that book twice, and I still don't remember.
Okay, we can talk about the clown mask healer, assessor, and his assessor.
Yeah. Worships
Yes, they
Icarium.
worship the one god.
Yes.
The one god, Icarium.
It was insane.
I think, yeah, maybe that's an apt description.
It's so weird because when he was first describing his religion, I was like kind of picturing like, and as I think you're meant to, like
Protestantism?
the Abrahamic God, and so I'm picturing like a being that's completely divorced from material reality or completely unified with material reality, depending on how you look at it, but not something that you could point at and say, look, it's there. And then he's like, oh, there he is. And I'm like, oh, that's your God.
He had a hell of a reaction, too. It's like biting his lips and...
Yeah, he freaked out.
Yeah,
That's a fair
when he
reaction.
first started description, the first thing I thought of was the break of the Protestant church from the Catholic church, and how that would just invite tons and tons of different sects. And then,
Oh man, yeah.
like, they taught people how to read, and because they were educated, they made even more sects. And then the only reason that there are fewer now is because they stopped people from learning.
And now they've had 22 months of uninterrupted peace.
22? 23.
23.
All to ascertain who Ikariam is and what he thinks about life and stuff. Anyway, go ahead, Dana.
The way that that he was describing the whole sect and the doctrine and the mockers, it read very much like something Douglas Adams would write, and it was just I don't think you're meant to take it seriously, especially when he was saying, in the holy expression adorning my face, you are granted a true image of the one behind the grand design, insofar as our sect determines such. Like, that is such a Douglas Adams thing.
Yeah. It also reminds me of like something like Doctor Who would say. Or like a character on Doctor Who would say. Like especially the new Doctor Who or like Tom Baker. Like it seems like Fourth Doctor or New Doctor stuff. Very silly, very...
But it sounds profound.
Right.
Because it is.
Yeah, very much. I think it is an interesting choice for them to worship Ikariam, not just as a god, but like the one god. And
Right.
it actually makes a lot of sense to me because he's kind of like a conduit of chaos, if you think about it, right? And at the same time, he also did travel around like seemingly everywhere, and he built a lot of things. He tried to help a lot of people, and it's arguable whether he did any good at all.
And his mother's apparently very gronky donkey.
Yeah, his mother is smoking.
And whether he's sane is definitely an open
By
question.
many definitions, like not sane at all, right?
Right.
I mean,
I have
you
a
you
question.
push the guy on the streets, and he's just gonna, kill you, kill all your friends, kill your entire city, kill your country, maybe. Nothing you can do to stop him.
So, like, I know there's all these people saying that Ikariam is scary, and we saw that scene at the first throne where, he basically goes off. But for me as a reader, I don't feel, or I can't really picture, like, how scary Ikariam is. Like, it's just everybody telling me, even though there was that scene where we see it, I don't know, it's not as vivid.
That's fair.
We do know that that whole thing really messed up Quickben. And we know how powerful Quickben is.
Quickben and
Wow.
Terralock Reed.
And
then,
hey,
yeah,
he broke
this,
Troll's spear.
yeah.
It's just a spear. We know Quickben's awesome.
Quickben is awesome. For me, the most affecting things for Ikariam it wasn't that scene. It was going through all the scenes of his destruction in books previous, like in Dead House Gates, when you're walking through just like city after city. It seems like there was just, this one was destroyed by Ikariam. And then in House of Chains, the entire like bridge or like the staircase that Karso was walking down, just like this valley filled with Talani moss bones, which seems to be all Ikariam.
I see.
Was it?
Yeah, Ikariam or Jagat. I don't know.
Oh, there wasn't like a sales stuff going on there?
I think there was to some extent. It was like a big hodgepodge. But Ikariam was the one that brought the Toblakai there
Right.
to isolate
right.
them.
And he
And-
like engineered their society to prevent them from developing, right?
To reinforce their Toblakai blood. So
Right.
he engineered their society to make them pure again, which is very eugenicist of
Very.
Ikariam.
And very rapey.
Yes, explicitly.
Yeah. And of course, they're nothing like whatever Toblakai society produced, like Bellerdan.
All this Ikariam talk, makes me want to recommend a video on AP's channel and a video on Ruth and Bad's channel that were both about, Ikariam and how bad or how not bad he is.
Are those full spoilers for the whole series, though?
Maybe. I'll have to watch. Maybe we could link it to the description on this.
Yep, put it in the show notes. And then during all this, everyone is telling... Well, people are talking about Ikariam and Rulad, and Ikariam and Karsa and Rulad. And I do find it funny how, like, everyone seems to think that Karsa doesn't have a chance. Except for the people who know Karsa, who are just like, I don't know how he's going to do it, but, like, have you seen the guy?
Well,
I just love
talking
Karsa.
about. Well, I guess it's in a later chapter when Ublala goes looking for Karsa, and then
That was fun.
yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
I only have one quote in this chapter, but I think it's one of many that highlight what I consider to be one of the main central themes of Reaper's Gale, of futility. As Nisal, and she sees the two-headed Escara. She says Escara, and she says, round and round you go, do you know dismay, helplessness? So I'd say keep your eyes on futility.
And then she's stabbed.
Yeah, and Nisal's dying. That's sad.
She gets
I like her.
stabbed, and
even more futility right there.
and she was pregnant.
Yeah, and she's trying to help Rulad not be as crazy. And yeah, she failed. Can't fight the system.
I
Can't fight the
really
system.
didn't like the way that it was all set up. I really thought Bruce and Trana was gonna get there in time
Hmm.
to save her, and then he wasn't. And then he was gonna kill the tribunal guy,
So
Mhm.
close.
but he didn't. And I'm like, this is gonna come
Mhm.
and bite you in the butt.
And then he was going to kill Karos and Victed, and then his companion was like, "No, we don't have time for this."
Yeah.
Yeah, very frustrating.
And I think that's also gonna come and bite him in the butt. Although he doesn't have many teeth left, so maybe it won't
Or a
be
butt.
that Does Tribunal like boys? Or no? Is it? Yeah, that guy.
Tribunal, I think he
Yes.
does.
I think he's a
Yeah.
better ass, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So we find out that Taehol had a thing, or still has a thing, for Janeth.
She is a catch.
She was his teacher.
Janeth, how do you feel about that?
Well, she says it's like kind of sweet that he's so harmlessly pathetic, right?
It's a thing where people, I guess, get into an infatuation with their teacher.
Yeah, it's a thing. But it's just such an I guess it's kind of fun to watch Taehol so flustered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's I don't want to get into like an intellectual tier ranking of the series, but like she's very much on his level, right? And like obviously like Ublala is not. So
Oh yeah.
Ublala is
It
the only
is-
one that knows about ghosts, though. So, I mean,
that's true.
everybody else knows about economics. He knows about ghosts. I think it evens out.
And Ublala doesn't need his chickens cooked.
Yeah.
He just squash one and start eating.
It seems like only one other character gets Taehol as flustered as Janeth.
Who's that, Rocket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taehol is he gets flustered on women, I think.
Yeah. I think that's true for nearly all circumstances so far.
And like so much of the lens that he sees the world through is he has very juvenile sexual humor, and that's where like almost all the dick jokes in Reaper's Gale and Midnight Tides come from. Just Taehol, and the way he sees
And
things.
Bug.
And Bug.
Master, stop staring at the handrails.
Master, you're positively leering. Yeah.
I have a question. Did the nascent have ice and did it melt?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. Why do you ask?
The nascent was flooded by roulade.
I mean, it could be cold in some places, most likely.
Well, because
If you're asking if it's related to Omtus Phalak, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
The melting ice motif in this series, I don't want to say like gets started here, but oh boy, is there a lot of it in this.
Especially around Lethris, right? Like the whole thing used to be just surrounded in like a time-stopping ice made by Gothos, and now it's all melting and things are changing.
It's all melting. Yeah, and we'll see more of why it's melting later, but it's very interesting.
The sun is getting closer. That's why.
I mean, that's what causes in real life global warming, right?
Yeah, the Earth is just falling into the sun.
The moon's getting farther apart, farther away. Wait, it's like a disc, right? Because that's Earth. It's a flat, and it's just kind of flying and gets closer.
Oh my goodness,
every
people are gonna
10,000
think we're being
years.
serious. Never mind. Let's move on.
Chapter 10? Chapter 10. Hedge is on a walkabout. Shirk sets up a meeting with a mysterious group of totally not Malazans. A survivor of the all-raid channels her inner wolf. Everyone else does a lot of talking. I was going to summarize the rest of that, but it's, I think, literally everybody else, and they just talk.
I'm happy to see Hedge again. And
Yes.
whoever thought that a conversation with Wind could be so interesting?
It wasn't.
I thought it was really interesting.
It was interesting in that it showed some of Hedge's character, I think. And the Wind was like, oh, do you know how, like, who is the group that's died the most? And then Hedge is like, yeah, it's children.
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh, no fair. You're not
Well,
supposed to know that.
he
I'm
tried
supposed
not to
devastate
answer
with
that
it."
at first.
Yeah. And the wind keeps trying to get him to play a game
That tricky Wind.
and calls him beloved and love.
And like, do we know what that wind actually is? Because he like leaves it, right, and just starts talking to a Talani Mas, and then we don't hear from the wind.
Well, it's definitely not Detoran. Because she wasn't talking to him at all.
Well, he tells the wind about her.
Yes. And how much he didn't talk.
You think he was like so lonely that in his mind, like he just conjured up some other thing to speak with, and then once he realized, hey, there's another being, he didn't need that imaginary voice anymore.
That's like his projection of what Fiddler is.
I buy that. Yeah, because he was talking
Interesting.
about how much he's missing his friends, especially.
And
Fiddler.
I don't think he does mention Fiddler, does he?
No, he does.
He does.
Not fine. Does he mention by name? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's doing it though, if that's the case, because he accuses it of being like a long dead god or something. That like if he worships it, may like claw its way back from death.
Yeah. But maybe that's just what his mind wanted him to think.
Right? No. I mean, I'm saying the theory could work, but he doesn't know he's doing it. It would have to be like
Right.
unconscious or subconscious.
Yeah.
I really like the little bit where it's the Letheri girl who was just kind of dancing with the wolves for a bit.
Yeah, her brother was a...
Her brother tried to
Arbalest?
save her. Yeah. He was the one in the chapter earlier.
Yeah, so her story is kind of like the turtles, right? She was raised in a different environment, and then she kind of becomes part of the group, and then later she's taken out and maybe becomes an enemy of the group. And there's a parallel there.
She's totally not going to be important.
There's a lot of, being raised in a different culture stories in this book.
Among animals, as it were.
Becoming
I
part
was
of
a
a
little
different culture, too.
confused at the end, though. So, like, she woke up and then all the four-legged people, as she called them, were not there. And then there was a giant who was, like, wearing all their furs, and then all their little knives were, like, strung up as a necklace. So,
Some guy hunted all the wolves, and then she joined the man.
okay. So it wasn't like some sort of magic where, or like a diverse situation where that
Nah,
giant
I think it's just we're
had been wolves.
just her
No, it's just
describing
a-
it from the point of view of a 6-year-old girl, something like that.
Very
I see.
traumatized child. Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah, he's a giant by comparison to the wolves that she's viewing as people. It's a
Imagine
human.
what she would think of Karsa.
Maybe that was Karsa. He took like a couple of days off, went to hunt some
No.
wolves.
I don't
Teleported,
think
Game of Thrones style. Just went back.
he would have done that.
I don't think so either. Maybe.
But nice try.
I think he probably would have rescued her.
He would have rescued
Yeah.
her. I don't think he would have killed all the wolves.
No.
Right.
Maybe some
He
of
would've-
them. Maybe he'd pick like
He
the
may
biggest
have,
wolf and he's like witness.
And then
Yeah,
they
he
join
may
him.
have tried to
Yeah, and then
submit
he
them
leads the wolf
to
pack.
him,
Yep. That's it. We know Karsa.
which he did in House of Chains.
Yeah, he did. That has a chance. Yep, absolutely.
So there you go.
And those are bigger ones too.
God, is that story any less uncomfortable to read on the
What story?
Which one?
the Karsa origin story?
No. It's still...
I didn't find it uncomfortable to read the first time, but it's not less uncomfortable the second time.
It was so weird.
You need to read The God Is Not Willing.
Good book.
I have to finish Fall of Light first. And then
You said with a sad voice, I have to finish this book.
Oh no.
Fall of Light's so big.
It is big. It's really big.
It's so good.
You guys notice that the epilogue, or the epigraph to this chapter is from the religion of the priest in the last one.
I did notice that.
Cool. Does anyone get the feeling that Kettle is kind of the... I don't know if the conscience is the right word of the group, but I think as bad as everybody is, they still kind of aren't as terrible to each other as they could be just because Kettle is there. They kind of look at Kettle and they're just like, oh, I feel bad for being so bad.
And well, they have this perception of that she's an innocent child, right? Despite the fact that
Yes.
she's like older than all of them, probably. Well, not all of them, not older than Selchus, but older than maybe like some of them, and has also killed so many people.
Because who is it? Udnas is like, I want to die. And she's like, no one spoke. And Kettle said, I don't want to die. And Udnas just like, he broke down.
Oh, he gets so sad.
Oh man.
Poor Udnas.
But it's also he's the one who's saying that somebody's gonna have to kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been said twice at least that she's going to die.
Yeah.
Right, but he doesn't
why?
want to face the reality of how that makes her.
I think
But,
I think
like-
he's fine with like. Okay, I think he sort of is facing the reality of that, and it just hurts him so bad, and this is like a big part of why he's so surly.
Ah, yeah. That explains it.
Why does she need to die?
Read and find out.
Read and find out.
Wait, did we find out who her parents were?
We were given
Some hints. I
hints,
don't remember.
but I think her body was just a Letheri child, right?
I think so.
But she has the soul of... I don't know how much this is spoilers. I think maybe Midnight Tides, I want to say. She has the soul of a forkroll sail inside of her.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Boo.
Udnas also calls Fear honorable, unlike his youngest brother.
Also, when do we find out, like, about Udanas's child?
When do we or did we?
When do we?
You want to? You'll see. You'll see.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's
Very
Not-
soon.
not going to be a long wait.
He was in Midnight Tides, though, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
It was
he's
a very
in
short appearance in a dream, I think.
Yeah, he
in
was raised by
Starval
somebody,
Demolane.
and he was being raised by the uncle of Shirkalal, right? Ruddalal. And we were like, who's this Rudd? And we learned that he's actually the uncle of Shirk, and you don't remember? Okay.
Nope.
It's
that
not too
happened,
important,
but he's also hanging out with a bunch of Talani Mass in Starval Demolane.
Wasn't it Imas?
Didn't I just say
Okay,
that?
sorry.
No, you said Talani Mas.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay. Right, Imas. You're right.
I think that would be spoilery, but
No, it's in Starval. It's in Midnight Tides. They
it's in
talk
Mid
about
Tides?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in Starval Demolane.
Sure.
And Udnas is there with Featherwitch in a dream. And they meet his son, and his son's like, it's like 2 weeks after he got raped by Menendor. And his son's like, I'm like 20. They like talk. It's a thing.
This
I can't
rings
believe
a
I
vague
remember
bell.
this. I've only read that once.
Nice memory.
It was a really weird sequence. It was one of my favorite sequences of Midnight Tides. I swear it's in there.
Oh,
Yes, this
whoops.
sounds familiar.
And I was like, oh, we're going to learn more about dragons. And then
Okay.
no,
The
nothing.
kid's name is Rudd.
Yes.
He was raised by Arakalal.
Who is the one? That's the one that's related to
Yes,
Shirk,
that's
right?
the one who's
Yes.
Shirk's
Because we were trying to figure out when we discussed Midnight Tides how Shirk and Rudd were related.
I see.
We had a whole thing about it on the podcast where we were like, whoa, is she like his great-great-granddaughter? Or like, blah, blah, blah. And we were trying to figure it.
That was ages ago.
It's easy to forget, especially since it wasn't exactly important in Midnight Tides.
No, it wasn't.
But they made a big deal out of it like it was going to be important, and then it just like falls off the map completely, pretty much.
Maybe
until
it
this
won't be
book.
important. Maybe
Who knows?
having a dragon veering son for our protagonist here is not important. Maybe
Well, they brought it up again just recently.
just for
so
fun, because dragons are cool.
Yeah.
Dragons are cool.
We get another conversation between Talk and Red Mask, and Red Mask puts an angry young man named Torrent in charge of training the children.
Torrent.
Torrent, yeah. Torrent the all.
Torrent.
Just put he's a person of note, Panda, so.
And he's frustrating even now.
Yeah.
Like, is he gonna be the one that, like, is the bane of Red Mask and later on gonna cause some trouble?
How do you expect us to answer that?
I'm just trying to look at your faces.
he's the horse in Elden Ring. Okay.
No, that's true. Yes, he'll turn into a horse by the end of the book and then say, "I must
Horse.
go be with my people now."
Horse soul taken.
And then he jumps away.
Why haven't we seen any horse soul taken?
That would be
Because
really
that's so
useful.
lame.
I think it'd be cool. Like,
No.
they're,
Why would you
I bet,
be a
I bet
horse when
they're
you could be a
really,
bear?
really popular with like nobles, like teenage daughters.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, that sounds like a fan fiction that you should write.
But like also it would be really useful for travel. Imagine if you had like 12 horse soul taken that are all like they could be like a light cavalry unit together and like switch which one's horse.
Yeah,
and
you get your
stuff,
soul
like-
taken nice and organized like they famously love to be.
Yeah, totally.
You get
Like,
all these like world-shaking entities that
Make
like
it a
have the ability to
divers.
become soul taken, and it's like, hey, you want to be horses so that we can ride you into battle? And they're like, yes, absolutely, please. I could turn into
Okay.
like a bear or a tiger or something, but no, I want to be
It could be a
horse.
diver, so it's like the same guy,
It's,
like
yeah,
riding
same guy as
himself.
12 horses. I could be 12 horses, yes. Or I could transform into 1,000,000 rats and eat everybody.
So the horses in this series are really like they are
Unlucky?
just they're treated so badly. Well, I mean they get
Havoc is.
Havoc's
has a good
treated
life.
well, yeah, absolutely.
that's
And,
like one
Isn't,
out of how many
doesn't-
like he's written.
doesn't DeWicker's horse survive the chain of dogs?
Ah, yeah, that was nice.
That horse has seen some horrors, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true. Yeah.
Like the horse is just reading about their legs being broken and them being crushed and them being like because the enemy was trying to knock off their rider, they get hurt and they die. They're just collateral damage. Erickson hates horses. That's what it is.
No, I think he's actually a horse boy. No, I'm pretty sure he's a horse boy. Like, I think he's talked about it in interviews.
Yeah, no, he is definitely. I think we even asked him about it in,
I
in
know.
our interview.
He doesn't
but
write like he loves horses.
the horse that survived the chain of dogs. You're acting like that means it was treated well, but not only was that hell, but it also wasn't it in House of Chains too, like doing the same journey again back.
Yes.
So it had to
Oh,
go
yeah,
through that,
yeah,
all that
sure.
again.
But, like,
Yes.
everybody else in the chain of dogs died.
not quite.
All the soldiers, at least, right?
Oh
So, like, the horse fared better than Coltane. That's something.
Maybe the horse
That's-
wishes to have
that's our
died and then
standard.
been reborn. You know?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Well, okay. if any of these horses get crucified in the series, then I think we can say the horses were treated badly. But until then,
I need to see art of a crucified horse.
No.
there's a crucified dragon.
There
So-
I mean,
is.
that's easy to imagine. I just can't imagine a horse.
Don't imagine it. That's
yeah, Panda.
terrible.
Panda, don't forget about the crucified dragon.
I don't. I think about that crucified dragon all the time when I'm reading
Awesome,
this
good,
book series.
very good.
Yeah, so old All is kind of annoying, but I loved his talk where they exchanged things that sound like lies with talk.
Yeah. That I like that scene. It was very much, I felt like talk playing along to see like how much more the other person would tell him, and it worked.
I'm wondering, so we know everything talk says is true, but how much of what the old man is saying is actually true?
I think he
The most important thing to determine is like whether or not Red Mask's sister actually killed herself, I think.
well, he says he knows why. And when he told Red Mask, it seemed to have an effect on him. So I think at least on some level, what he says is true. And at a very minimum, he definitely believes what he's saying is true.
At the very least, that's probably true.
Hey, I have a question. What does a warrior do when peace is won?
They go fishing.
He goes fishing. Or, he builds a house. He becomes a mason.
Yeah, I really like that line.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I liked talk. He was pining to see Tool again, hoping to hear a
Yeah.
few words of futility to cheer him up.
And he was also playing with the arrows that Tula gave him, and someone was like, "Yo, those arrows are stupid, and you're stupid for carrying them."
Well, that was Torrent, wasn't it?
It was
I think
Torrent.
so.
Like, you're stupid, Torrent.
Yeah, let's see these arrows in action one of these days. Come on.
We get a little bit of some ambiguity with like Quick Ben. He does his whole like magic travel thing, and he goes into like a different realm.
Oh, was that just chapter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, what gods, what sickness is this? I can't breathe." And I was like, did he like somehow go into where Burn is? Like that sickness, or is that
That's
a wrong reading?
immediately what I thought of, yeah.
Okay.
He got asthma from Icarium.
What?
Yeah, he's finding it hard to breathe now.
No.
Asthma is contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. He caught it.
Okay, you guys
Caught
stop
asthma.
spreading lies.
Chapter 11?
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11. An old Toblakai hears the call of Karsa, and Ublala meets the man himself. The errant trades a stabbing for an eye. Hanan Mosag sends Bruth and Shroud to receive the soul of Bruce Bedict. I'll just say it. I think I'm actually pro Hanan Mosag, for the most part.
I was wondering about that, like if I was to.
Because like he has like a really tragic scene here where he's in Curled Emerlon and he's like, I had this whole plan worked out. I was going to heal the realm of shadow. I was going to have a place for our people. And Rulad, he just came in and ruined it all. And I just want to get my people there, It's very tragic.
So you're saying like you're on board with his intentions.
I feel bad for him in that sense, right? Like he had this grand vision of where to take the Teist. He had a grand vision, and he was playing the crippled god, and maybe the crippled god found out, and that's why Rulad has the sword now. And yeah, Rulad ruined all the plans, and now Hanan Mosag is like a twisted body horror Lovecraftian Cronenberg monstrosity. And so are all his Krisnan, and that's kind of tragic.
It
You gave me
is
something to think about.
tragic.
I've never liked Mosag, though.
No.
Maybe it's just him after the fact being like, I had all these great ideas, you guys should follow me.
It sounds exactly like that.
He did unify the tribes.
Yeah, In Midnight Tides, he seemed like he was pretty, like, in relation to, like, where the societies were at, like, pretty progressive, unified the tribes, and he kind of, like, was trying to avoid war and stuff. So I've always been kind of like, man, I really don't like this guy, but also, like, is he, like, right? Was this guy, like, right all?
Could be.
But he's also gonna, like, betray the crippled god.
Yeah, the crippled god's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, he was, like, getting something out of it, Like,
Well, like the sword is like the most poisoned gift in the world. Like, right? Okay, you get an incredible amount of power. Your life is also going to be hell.
sure,
a living hell that you
but
can't escape from
I'm also
at all.
talking about them channeling chaos and using it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, which
yeah,
transforms
it's not-
your body into a horrific monstrosity. That's
Right,
also kind of
okay,
like its
yeah.
own hell, right?
That's true.
You like drag yourself around by whatever limbs you've grown.
I also just don't know if it would work, like, using the chains of the House of Chains to, like, or of the chain, or whatever you want to call it, to Emerlon together. And, that goes up against my boy Kellenved. That's not...
Han and Mosag would have met Kellenved, and they would have been like, all right, we can understand each other, and we have a common goal, And
I'm
they
not
would
sure
they would
about
shook
that.
hands, and they'd be like, okay, we're gonna be friends now.
He would call Shadowthrone a pretender, and Kellenved would be a snobby jerk to him and laugh at him.
I would definitely put my money on Shadowthrone in that confrontation, by the way.
Yeah, probably. Well, it depends on how much of Gerald Emerlon he could pull together before he confronted Shadowthrone.
This chapter we learn a little bit about the Segula.
Mhm.
Segula are cool, and they're ones called the Anvil, and they wear things on their face, and it's cool. It's not really important, but it's cool.
And Carson Merck's the one that's here.
Well,
know,
sure
and
Rick
that's
doesn't
what I
even
was
break a sweat.
thinking. Well, he literally just like picks her up and like
Yeah.
both legs. But does that mean that he is now Segula, or does he have to kill
I think
her?
by the rules of society, like he could be the 11th now.
Yeah, they might chase
Right?
after him.
So
And
That's a good pickup.
yeah.
I don't have any notes for this chapter. It's really gross when really, really, really gross. Like one of the grossest things I've read in these books. When Feather Witch steals Aaron's eyeball and swallows it.
Eyeball? Yeah.
She takes his eyeball out. Oh man.
And now he has
to
a
be fair,
priest.
he did stab her. Yeah, now he has a high priestess. They're totally deserving of each other.
When
He has the
it
power
was
that he wanted.
earlier in the section, it was when the errant first was speaking to Feather Witch, and they were talking about the finger, and he was like, "Well, what are you gonna do with it?" And she's like, "What do you think?" And then
she
I
uses
was
it to
like,
poke his
"I
eye
don't
out."
know what you're gonna do with this finger." And then it turns out,
Think about it.
I don't know what you're insinuating, but okay.
Okay. I won't say anything
And
else.
and then how it plays out, I was like, wow, she really thought really far ahead. But like, did she know that the errant was there? How could she plan so far ahead?
Right? I don't know.
I'm not sure she planned it. I think she just kind of went for it when the opportunity came.
Yeah, like
Okay.
Kuru Kwan was going to get a healer for her, and then Samar Dev trapped him in her knife.
Poor
And
Kuru
then
Khan.
Feather Witch was like, "All right, well, I guess I'm gonna bleed out unless I do this." So she swallowed the
Well,
eye. And was like,
I meant like when she took the finger,
"Oh, took
Briss's
the finger."
finger.
I think it was just like, "Oh, this guy's a really good swordsman. I'm gonna take his finger and possibly do some necromancy with it later."
Okay.
And then she had it for a long time and was like stewing over what she was gonna do with it.
So maybe her looking through all the scrolls and stuff was like her trying to figure out how to bring him back, and then she
Finger
she
magic.
found out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Isn't the old Toblikai here just the best? Isn't he such a cool guy?
Oh, what was his name? The guy who collects poop, right? He was in Midnight
collects-
Tides.
Oh.
Collects poop, and everyone was getting angry at him because he wasn't collecting poop anymore. And then they burned his house down, and he was like,
Well, he burned his own
I was
house
leaving
down.
anyways." Did he?
Yeah, he set his own house on
Okay.
fire.
Okay. Because he was going to meet up with Karsa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved
Hersto
his
Ubat?
section in... Yes! Ersto Hubat.
That That's not what I said, but that's correct. I think you're right.
Close enough.
Yep, there's to who, but. Now, Midnight Times was like, hey, Butts in his name. This guy's cool. Hee.
Butts in his name and he collects poop. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Prime podcast content right here.
When they introduced first Tohubut in Midnight Tides, I would never have called that he would be back 2 books later. I was like, oh, this is like a little detour, and we'll never see this character again. And then
there's a couple other characters that you thought were throwaway in Midnight Tides that are coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this the chapter where Ublala goes and looks for Karsa and then has that interaction with Samar Dev?
That's probably this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this chapter.
And then Samar Dev gets jealous because Karsa's like, leave. I'm gonna talk to this guy alone.
He like, couldn't even find your room.
Yeah.
She's totally into Karsa.
Samar Dev is like, she's very much the girl who like stamps her foot and like runs away in a huff.
I can see that. But it's
she wants him
I put in my notes that Ublala is so quote unquote cute in his like fascination and admiration of Karsa. Just like, he pushed through the sorcery? What? Yes. Anyway.
Amazing!
That's what a pureblood Tarthanel does.
You're right, he's cute, but not just because of that. He's just cute because he's cute.
Well,
he's
and apparently.
And
he's just saying that because he's got a big...
Yeah. That's it. That's all women like. The only quote I've highlighted here is Rocket's conversation with Ormley. Mm-hmm. She settled back in her chair. Make them feel clever. The only sure way to keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
When I read that to Lady Ash, she immediately related, which I found hilarious.
And also, isn't she the one who is like saying that Tehol was quite the genius because of all the scheming with the economy? But in reality, it's really not Tehol, it's Bug.
I think the economy stuff is mostly Tehol, right?
Is
like
it?
I think so.
I agree.
Bugs? Oh, okay.
Bug is his tool.
The dichotomy there is very interesting, and Bug is definitely not just a manservant, but like I think like Tehol is the one like crunching the numbers and like carrying the twos and calculating how much gold he needs to keep out of the economy and reinsert it whatever time.
Bug has a certain amount of autonomy, but he does what Tehol tells him to do because Tehol knows what he's doing.
Right, but he doesn't necessarily like he has autonomy in how he because they have a conversation and Tehol's like, when were you planning on telling me that? And he's like, oh, just now. And like they kind of go back and forth about it. So he's like, he's doing what Tehol wants him to do, but he's like not necessarily, he's like, oh, I'm about to take out a loan, or I'm about to do this. And he's like, whoa, when are you doing that? And he's like, yesterday. And so they're not completely always on the same page, if you see what I'm saying.
I fully believe that Bug actually likes being Tehol's manservant, and he obviously he does it because he likes to, because he doesn't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
He likes being the tool of somebody else.
What if Bug and Tehol are actually the same person, and Bug is just manifesting Tehol so that it seems like... Okay, sorry. That's too much.
Tehol is Bug's, like, Kaiser Soze.
But also...
Yeah, I like that theory. Don't read the rest of the book. Just you've solved the mystery of the Malazan. Just close the...
Done.
That's what it's all building up to.
Bug have a secret bag of holding?
Yeah,
absolutely, right?
For all the coins.
I mean, he's got the Warren of Sea or probably what, ruse?
All
So,
the
yeah, you can put it
coins-
anywhere.
Yeah.
Rucket was like either Rucket or Ormley was like it's on the bottom. It's like the only place they get stored is like the bottom of the canal or something.
Right.
I think it's just literally there, and then
I think it is
You
too.
know. yeah, so that's kind of like a bag of holding.
Okay. Next.
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Hedge makes contact with Emroth. Udanas has a bad dream. Onrak feels like a new man. Red Mask beats some Letheri ass like a drum. Twilight discovers a few burning ships.
Just a few.
Yeah,
This is a lot of stuff happened this chapter.
Yes.
Yep.
What are you most excited about, Panda, coming up?
Ooh, oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, the way that this
like
chapter
the
ended.
perfect line to end on. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I haven't been this excited to read more Malazan since like maybe honestly Memories of Ice.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Like I had to stop myself from reading ahead.
It's the whole thing just goes up. Like it
I'm
doesn't.
so excited.
It's so good.
The payoff is worth it. Yeah. This is why I wanted to stop on this chapter. Yeah, it's one of the distinctive mid-book moments of Malazan. And Malazan doesn't really have a lot of distinctive mid-book moments. This one
Before
definitely counts
before this, the best mid-book moment doesn't get paid off until a sale. I still don't know what the payoff
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
because there's like the Memories of Ice. The Talana Mouse is like, I came from another continent, a sale, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be important, and it's like,
It was a...
it's just not. For
What was it? It was an empire of humans did this. End of section.
Yeah.
13 books later.
Yep. The Midnight Tides moment where everyone kneels to Rulad, that's somewhat in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just... I don't know. It wasn't as nearly as cool, I think.
No, I don't care as much about the Lesser and Teist, so.
Oh, it's not as exciting of a moment for sure. Like, yeah.
I got goosebumps reading the Malazans are on our shore for like I was
Absolutely. I got goosebumps reading it today.
I was so excited. I said, finally!
Did you read the Dramatis Personae before starting the book?
No, I usually skip it, so I don't spoil
Yeah.
myself.
So you weren't even sure that there were going to be Malazans in this book.
I mean, I figured somebody was gonna show up, right?
Other than
but-
talk.
Well, yeah. But I didn't know where this was all going.
yeah, I didn't read it either. So I didn't know until
The only important Dramatis Personae to read is Dust of Dreams.
yeah, it is very important.
Did anyone
Okay.
really enjoy seeing the Letheri get their asses handed to them?
I think everyone
yes.
does, right?
Yes,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun
yes.
because it's the
I
payoff for
really
the-
enjoyed. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I mean, okay, I enjoyed and also didn't enjoy that section. So what I did enjoy is the way that you got to see how what's her face got
Bevat.
outsmarted.
Atri Preda Bevat, yeah.
Yes, Bevat. But the part that I didn't quite enjoy was like I had a hard time picturing this Bast Fulmar place, that valley, and like how all the movements of the military, her army was moving in. It was just like, just get to the good part.
Yeah, Graceless Passion, if you're listening, please give us
yes.
nice visuals of this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would
I think the
appreciate.
only thing that spoils this battle for me is that it's between two armies that I don't really care about.
Oh, I see.
What spoils it for me is that Burl Handart was killed.
Oh, yeah, that's also unfortunate.
Did he
I was
really
like, yeah.
die?
Yeah,
Well, I know he closed his eyes. That's all I know.
yeah, he died.
He puts in a poor showing. That's for sure.
he stabbed himself in the thigh.
I know. He was like, "Wow, I killed myself," and I was
Killed
like,
myself.
"Oh my god."
Yeah.
Yeah. So for all the readers that complain about plot armor for other protagonists, no, this, sometimes this does happen in Malazan at least.
Nisal's
Someone just
dead.
dies
Brawl
for
Handar's
stupid
dead.
reasons. Yeah.
But the thing is, you die in this series and you may or may not stay dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I like this because it kind of shows. It's almost like so it shows off the payoff for the nerdy oh, let's talk about how the Malazans do it, but it also kind of there's a mirroring of Kellenved turning the Wiccans into part of his professional army. You could almost so you can kind of see a tribal group like the Wiccans going through that process and also it punishes hubris, which any good tragedy is hubris. So the hubris of Atrufrida Vivad.
Yeah.
The only downside is that, of course, the Wiccans are far cooler than the All.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it showcases how cool the Malazan Empire is.
Yeah.
As cool as the Wiccans are, and they're really, really cool, they don't have dinosaurs.
That's true.
They do not have dinosaurs.
The All don't really have dinosaurs. It's just Red Mask, who has 2 of them.
Okay, he's all, and that's 2 more dinosaurs than the Wiccans have.
2 more dinosaurs than the Wiccans needed.
The Wiccans also are immortal. The Wiccans also have immortal heroes and warlocks that keep coming back animals carrying their souls to.
And the Wiccans didn't kill the Grey Swords. Was anyone else moved when Onrak got his body back?
Yes.
Yeah. I
love
didn't
you, Onrak.
I didn't know way ahead of time what was gonna happen, but then once Quick Ben was saying basically things about Onrak you're gonna be different. I don't know this how this is gonna affect you. Da 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 da. I was like, oh, wait a minute, and then
they describe he's breathing, and you're like, what? Why is he breathing?
yeah.
It was so good.
Wait, so going back to Memories of Ice, where the Maib goes to sleep and dreams, and then the Talon Imath go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yes?
Well, yeah, some go there.
You'll learn more about this soon.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking. Oh, did they just enter her dream world? So
A bit of Talon is hidden somewhere.
But characters go through Talon and books, and it's just bronzing fire.
They do go through that. And Curled Leosin,
yeah.
Oh, I think we made a mistake. The whole conversation between Tom
yeah, the
and
lie conversation. Yeah, that was this chapter.
that was this chapter. Yeah.
Whoops.
Oh well, whatever.
I'd just like to say that shout out to the Sheikh. I didn't appreciate them in my first read through, but oh man, I love how horribly bleak their worldview is.
I was very confused. I was
They worship
why
a
are
shore?
They worship
well,
the
it's more of
shore, and
what is the point of them?
what is the point of them? Oh yes, you'll read and find out. But
Put it on a shelf.
they consider themselves a summary is that they consider themselves guardians of the shore, and the sea is always rising and taking more shore away from them, in large part due to all the melting glaciers.
So are they
So they
anti-male? Anti-male?
They're anti the loss of space for everyone to live. They're founding. Well, one of their myths is that everything was once covered by water, and that's how it's going to be again. And they see the water come creeping in, and there's nothing they can really do about it. So they're just they have this mindset that their lot in life is to suffer. To be Sheikh is to know suffering, and they have all these demon babies.
I've read 10 of these books, and I haven't gotten what just said. I just said it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so just remember the names Twilight and Yade and Derek and the 2 witches. What were the names?
Oh, yeah, and Derek especially, yeah. And
The Watch.
just remember that they have demon babies that seem kind of reptilian sometimes.
Wait.
Yeah, so
that's-
why do they have Kachin Shamal?
I don't think it's Kachin Shamal.
Really? Then what are they? I figured that they were some crossover between Kachin and...
We can get into that later.
I was like reading this part about like the seeds like floating everywhere, getting everywhere, and I was like, where are these seeds coming from exactly? I
Well, they
must have
said there
missed
was
it.
Yeah,
some.
there's
They
like
said there
ancient
was
seed
some reptile race that got like pushed into the sea
that was
or
like
something.
came
Like,
out of the sea. Yeah, wild, eh?
Yeah,
Uh,
that one was too real. Reminded me of the reptile overlords that rule this world.
Absolutely. And the lizard men that still rule it.
Yeah, those are the ones I'm talking about.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
No, the ones that were hiding inside of our politicians.
Ah, okay.
get
Do
better
these have something to do
material.
with those sea
Jenna.
turtles?
You can't shake your head like that, like you don't know it's the truth.
I feel like these sea turtles are probably gonna have more to. No?
But
Okay.
Steve, nearly every book, what he does is he uses like nature, usually an
I
animal
know, I
form as a
know.
metaphor, and it's just that. It's only that.
He even brought back the owl this time.
Oh yeah.
He brought back the owl, but he also. I don't know. Never mind.
Since we're in the last section, I'll just say throughout these sections, I really enjoyed all of the thoughts about the nature of language and how difficult it is to grasp and how people could be controlled by language and the ideas of structuralism and behind every word is also 1,000 other words being left unsaid.
Nerd. We don't need to talk about language. We just use language, and language is perfect, and we all get each other's meanings perfectly all the time.
Unwieldy.
No,
Language.
no.
What was it that was it Red Mask that says words, the meanings evolve, meanings change.
I love that conversation. He says because they were talking
Yeah.
about the making the songs and using the songs without words and creating what was it, jewelry or like necklaces or something.
Yeah, they're making, yeah.
He's talking with Talk, and Talk's like, why don't you just use words? And it's fantastic.
Because words change meanings. This does not change meaning. Yep, that was really cool. And Talk is so like dismissive as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing his lessons with Duiker weren't that helpful.
And like Duiker's not like an anthropologist, right?
Well, I mean, they were just learning together. It's not like they were teaching each other. Although Talk did teach Duiker a little bit, right?
Man, that's like Deadhouse Gate stuff.
So long ago. Menendor and Hanan Mosek? No. Who did she make a deal with?
She makes a deal with everybody. It's exhausting. She makes a deal with her sister, though. And she's thinking that she can trust her sister to be so blinded by revenge that
Well, there's
she can
that.
trust her, sort of.
Which sisters are in cahoots and which one's alone?
So let's see, there's Kulan-Kado, Sheltatha Lore, and there's Menendore. And Ankadu?
Aren't Sheltatha and Ankadu working together and then Menendor's by herself?
No, I think Menendore is making deals with Kulan-Kado against Sheltatha Lore.
But she makes a deal with somebody else in this chapter because it was about Udanas, right? Claim what you like, Menendor. Before we are done here, you will
Yeah,
give
that's with-
him to me of your own will, indeed, as payment. For what? For news of your sisters.
That's with
Yeah,
Erastus.
that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure Sheltatha and Sukul are together. Menendor's
Yes.
Okay,
the one that's by herself.
I was wrong.
Yeah. Well, and those other two sisters, the one that's saving the sister that's still like in the ground, right?
Mm.
That's what she's trying to do. And she's like thinking to herself about all the distrust. Like, there's so much drama with these three sisters.
Yep.
They're all soul taken, right? Soul taken dragons.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah,
all
no,
soul
that-
taken
that'll do it.
dragons, and they're all like from the species that Steve decided to write his like Shakespearean hundreds of thousands of equals. So they're all like think about how extra siblings are in Shakespearean tragedies. That's these characters. Yeah, like
I see.
I really like how Udanas just kind of talks back to Erastus and Menendor, and he banishes them because it's his own dream. But he actually wakes up to another dream with Kettle.
Classic.
Yeah. But wait, like, how does Kettle get into his dream?
Kettle's weird, man.
Yeah, she's a creepy little kid.
She's got a lot of potential, that kid.
Because she also knows what happens in his other dream.
Yeah, because I think she was
what?
like hijacking it as well. She was there. She was hiding. I don't remember.
How does that work? Come on.
Yay, dream magic.
Dream magic's
Hand wavy.
unwieldy.
Yeah. she was there. Maybe she saw him having a nightmare. I was like, no, I'm just gonna join this man's dream, and she did.
Something's going on.
Something's going on. That's true. That you're right. Any final thoughts? I'm really excited to get to the Malazans as well.
I mean, yeah, the first half of this book has been a lot of building, backstory, get to know this character, get to know what's happening on Leicester.
Kill this character,
front
kill that
stabbing,
character.
eye gouging,
Yes.
finger eating.
So,
Right. Sorry.
This second book was a lot better than I remembered it being, and I don't think it's because I remembered it being bad before, but it's just what comes next blotted out of how good this was.
Stop talking it up so much, Janath. We want Panda to have low expectations going in. It's going to be a bad half of the book. You're not going to enjoy it. The Malazans show up, and it's like, oh, they were on the ships that were burning.
I don't
So
know the
they're all
problem people
dead
have
now.
with this first half of this book. I think it's fantastic. And like I said earlier, after I finished, I think it was chapter 8, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
I was so apprehensive when I read that first chapter. I was like, "Oh goodness, am I gonna have
And
to
now
like
you're like,
really
oh,
toil?"
goodness.
And now I'm like, "Yes!"
That first chapter didn't hit much better on the second read either.
That concludes this episode. If you want to join the read-along and or contribute listener questions, check us out on the Legendarium's Discord. You can find the link on the legendarium.com. Also follow us on Twitter at GreenTeamPod for updates and fun times. Check out the Legendarium podcast for Wheel of Time, Cosmere, Lord of the Rings content, and so much more. Thank you to our panelists, Ashman, Janeth as a boy, and Befuddled Panda. I am here in Van. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye. It's actually not a bad Shadow Throne voice.
I can't. Giggling's hard.
The main character,